Howdy, folks. Welcome to Tuesday's Tips. My name is Kenneth Thomas, and on Tuesdays, I like to give folks tips on photography, video, and lighting. One of the things that I've also been covering is how to use your cell phone camera to get nice, effective pictures for some of the things that you guys are doing. Well, anyway, what I wanted to talk about today was something that I've had a few people ask me about. A lot of people say, "Oh, cloudy days make for the best portraits." Yes and no. That's because photography is all about the light and having kind of an overcast sky can give you a very nice diffused even lighting, which is great for portraiture. The problem is that it can also make everything in the scene be very flat because everything is getting the same lighting. So one of the big things with doing portraiture on a cloudy day is that you need to be really mindful of what's going on in the background, because you can totally lose all of the detail in the background. Now, that may be what you're looking for, but a lot of times we choose our outdoor photo locations based on the background and based on what else is going to be in the photo. So if you have too much diffused lighting, it can make the entire scene kind of flat. So while it can be very flattering for portraiture, it can affect the background depending upon where you're shooting. Now, another thing about cloudy days is they tend to make the sky a bit more interesting. And by that, I mean a beautiful blue, clear sky. Yeah, that's great. And it, depending upon what else is in your scene, in your scene that you're shooting, that may be perfect. But having some clouds can add some texture and some differentiation to the background as well. So there's that aspect of it too. Another part of dealing with cloudy day portraiture is it an even cloud cover so that you have completely even light, or is it different levels of cloudiness rolling through your scene? Because if that's what's going on, now you've got the added complication of your lighting is changing. It's going to be a little bit brighter. It's going to be a little bit darker. Now, it still be diffused. It will still give you that diffused even lighting. But the thing that you're going to be dealing with is that you set up and you get ready to take the shot, and then all of a sudden your lighting goes a lot brighter or a lot dimmer, and now your settings that you had aren't going to work for you. One of the tricks that I've learned when shooting with my manual mode, where I am controlling the aperture and I am controlling the shutter speed, is changing the ISO settings to where it's automatically selecting the ISO based on the light level that it's reading. Now, that unless it gets really super dark, you're not going to end up with a really grainy picture. Okay, folks, we're talking, it's usually going to be adjusting somewhere between 100 and probably 800 at the most on the ISO. So you're really not going to see anything like super grainy, like if you get into extremely high ISO type images. But it is something that you need to be mindful of because it can definitely impact your portraits. Another thing that you can do, and this is something that I've known some folks to do if they have portable lighting that they can bring and use, is they will use lighting. Sorry, my allergies are still kind of giving me grief and my sinuses are feeling like I'm going to sneeze here. Where was I? Lighting. They can use their portable lighting to light the background to give some definition. So they'll kind of have it off in the background, angled more toward the background. And so it's kind of coming in from behind, and you'll get some spill on the person, which will give you some nice edging. So that is another thing that you can do when you're doing these kind of portrait sessions in a cloudy day. Another thing, if you're just looking for scenery, clouds can be wonderful. They're not always going to be cooperative. Another thing that I have known some people to do is they will shoot the scene and then they will mask out the sky and add in clouds in post-production that match with what they're trying to do. Now, for me, my personal preference, and by the way, when we're talking about cloudy day portraiture and this kind of stuff, a lot of what I'm talking about is midday shooting. Okay. Now, as a photographer, I really don't like shooting at midday a whole lot. And the reason is because the light's pretty much coming down. You're going to have the harshest contrasts and that kind of thing. And that can, well, I mean, depending upon what you're trying to do, it might work for you. But to me, it's not the kind of artistic look that I'm looking for. I prefer to shoot either in the morning or in the afternoon. You've got the sun coming in at an angle, and you're going to have more interesting contrast. You're going to have more interesting lighting because you're going to be able to get lighting coming in from a direction as opposed to just coming straight down on things. So it'll allow you to do more with shadows. It'll allow you to do more things. Plus that light coming in from the side, it's going to give you lighting in the background and that kind of stuff. Now, still having some cloud is still going to be an okay thing, especially if you're looking for in the background, having sunset clouds or sunrise clouds. Those always make for very dramatic photos. But if you're shooting something like that, you're probably going to want to have a light source on your subject so that way you can catch that beautiful light in the background and still have your subject be the brightest thing there. So in a lot of people ask, cloudy day portraiture. It kind of depends. There's a lot of variables that go into making a good portrait. How you light your subject and how everything else around them is lit is the two key component things as far as lighting goes. And when we're talking about cloudy days, that's what we're really talking about, lighting, because what kind of bokeh you have and how you blend out the background or blur it out, or is it in fine detail? All that comes in with camera settings on your aperture and that kind of a thing. And we're not talking depth of field aspects here. We're talking about lighting aspects. So it can be a great thing, but it can also be tricky. You got to balance the light on your subject and everything else in your scene. So that's kind of the thing for it. So if you're someone who's getting ready to do photography and you got your portrait session all set up, you're ready to go out and you're going to do these shoots either yourself or with someone else, and turns out to be an overcast day, it's not necessarily a tragedy, but it is going to mean that you're going to have to take extra steps or do things a little differently than you normally would. So that's my tips right now for cloudy day portraiture. Me personally, cloudy days don't bother me, but I would prefer to shoot afternoons or mornings. Some of my favorite fashion shoots and portraits have been done in afternoon and morning shootings. So that's kind of my thing. But until next time, folks, peace, love, and photography. And remember, everything can make a beautiful image, including you. Have a great afternoon. Bye.